We are not alone and isolated. Nothing is isolated. We are each a uniquely evolving pattern of energy and information, born within a vast system of purposeful intelligence, which we call nature.
The great swathe of humanity spread across this planet is to maintain health and prosperity, then we simply must regain a right relationship with nature. And to do this requires, at least in part, that we begin to acknowledge the intelligence within nature. Nature is not some dumb and mindless thing. It is rather a distributed form of self-organizing intelligence. Human intelligence, on the other hand, might be impressive, but it's not in the same league as the intelligence of nature. We may, for example, tinker with DNA, but we did not design DNA. We may juggle genes and chromosomes, but we did not invent them. We may even destroy entire ecosystems for our own ends, yet we cannot rebuild those ecosystems. So rather than dominate nature into subservience, we would do better to harmonize our behavior with the greater natural systems of which we are a part. Acknowledging the intelligence of nature is one step in such a green endeavor. The universe has order written all over it, from the orderly formation of spiral galaxies to the orderly behavior of atoms and molecules. So too do ecosystems and organisms behave in a sensible and orderly fashion. It is we belligerent primates who are firmly out of order with our excessive pollution and our almost psychotic obsession with material consumption. Something has to change, because we can't go on bending the biosphere indefinitely. Something has to change. So why don't we slow down and look again with new eyes at this fantastic planet on which we live. Maybe we never left Eden after all. Maybe it was a kind of self-enforced exile.
The entire web of life, ourselves included, depends upon a fundamental example of natural intelligence embodied by our botanical friends here, namely photosynthesis. The process through which sunlight is converted into metabolic energy. All plant species perform this feat regardless of what morphological form they take. Photosynthesis represents the tree of life's primary technology, a technology learned through evolution. As natural technologies go, photosynthesis is highly advanced. It is hard to get your head around what a photon of light actually is, let alone imagine how to capture one and borrow its energy. Yet plants do just this by making use of chlorophyll and an array of advanced nanotechnological machinery. Leaves are the structures which carry out photosynthesis. They are nature's solar panels, ensuring that the biosphere remains plugged in. Apart from performing photosynthesis, leaves can also serve as protection. The Venus flytrap has gone further and has evolved leaves which can capture and eat insects, a notion that was originally rejected by 19th century botanists as being far too outrageous to be true. Other plants, like the pitcher plant, have evolved jug-shaped leaves which fill with water and which can drown any insects gullible enough to venture inside. Like the Venus flytrap, the plant eventually consumes its insectile prey. It is somewhat odd then that we will not generally perceive a leaf as embodying intelligent design, whereas we clearly perceive intelligent design in a piece of litter. The young Charles Darwin had keen eyes. To view life and its evolution as a naturally intelligent process does not require us to abandon Darwin's great vision. With our growing knowledge of DNA and genetics, Darwin's work continues to be vindicated. However, how we interpret evolution is another matter. The chief virtue of psilocybin is that it reveals the intelligence and creativity at the heart of the evolutionary process which Darwin glimpsed. These days, no reasonable person can dismiss evolution out of hand. Take a close look at the flipper on this seal. There are finger bones underneath. This seal's ancestors were creatures of the land. Gradually, over millions of years, its genes have been shaped by natural selection so as to express a body more adapted to life in the ocean. At this point in time, the seal is a land mammal wearing its own tailor-made wetsuit. The same evolutionary transformation, but in reverse, can be seen in this snail. Snails are mollusks, and most mollusks live in the ocean, which is why we find shells on the beach. For whatever reason, the ancestral lineage of this snail left the ocean and became adapted to life on land. Like the seal, its genes and its biological form reveal its evolutionary history. Go back far enough in time and our own ancestors were likely to have been amphibians of some kind, maybe like this salamander. Amphibians go through one stage of their lives with gills. The human fetus also passes through a gilled stage during its development. This clearly demonstrates our own evolutionary history. Our closest living relatives are other primates who share much of our own DNA. Human DNA codes for a bigger brain than other primates. The problem is, we have now elevated our big brains above all else. We think we are smarter than nature. Design, purpose and creativity are capabilities ascribed only to ourselves. And yet seals, snails, salamanders, monkeys and any other creature you care to mention are, biologically speaking, impressively designed. Thus, we must admit that design, purpose and creative engineering are all properties of evolution, a process which preceded our own ability to design and to create.
Given that evolution builds up complex and eminently sensible biological structures, demonstrates that evolution is essentially a learning process and not dumb and mindless as science teaches us. Through evolution, nature authors intelligent solutions to the problems of living. Instead of books, the intelligent solutions are transcribed in DNA, and since DNA is mutable, improvements and re-editing can always be achieved. DNA that is senseless is terminated, whereas DNA which makes more sense is favoured or selected. If organisms and their environment are considered as a totality or continuum, then nature is clearly a wonderful system of self-organising intelligence. It's also worth bearing in mind, of course, that the original formation of DNA and its progressive evolution are written into the very laws of nature. The universe is quite literally a life support system, even a consciousness supporting system. These are facts with many profound implications. We are so in love with our own intelligence that we confer prestigious awards upon those who discover the intelligence within nature. James Watson and Francis Crick, for example, are revered to this day for their discovery of the exquisite double helix structure of DNA. Nature, on the other hand, received no accolade whatsoever, despite teaching Watson and Crick all that they knew. In a similar way, we are more likely to be impressed by shiny biotechnological machines that can chop and change DNA than we are with the biotechnological properties of DNA itself. And so, as ever, natural intelligence remains unsung.